Yo, what's up people? In this video, we are going to talk about my worst experience in the IDF, right? My absolute worst experience in the Israeli military. There's a couple, okay? To be fair, it was hard to select what my worst experience in the IDF was because the army is not a pleasurable experience. It sucks, straight up, it's awful. And for me to pick like what the worst experience was is not an easy thing. However, I think I have settled on what it was. I'm gonna tell you what it is right now. Okay, so like, I'm not sure how it is now because it's been about 10 years since I've been out. But at the time, you know, I joined right after the Second Lebanon War. And so after the Second Lebanon War, there was, you know, because Hezbollah was very well trained, right? They were like special elite troops, and I don't want to say Israel kind of got their ass handed to them in the Second Lebanon War, but things did not go as smoothly as they wanted them to, and part of the reason for that, the conclusion that they drew was that the infantry, the ground troops, were not trained as well as Hezbollah was. So they had a unique advantage over the Israeli troops, and the whole idea of that war was that Israel tried to win the war from the air, right? Superior, you know, Air Force, whatever, they just like bombed the shit out of Hezbollah in Lebanon, thinking that would like to bomb them into submission. But when they finally sent in ground troops, they lost, it wasn't even that, I think it was like maybe like 100 soldiers or something, which to Israel is actually a lot. To America, like you lose that in like a week, right, in Iraq. Anyway, after I joined, there was a much greater emphasis on doing large-scale training exercises for like an entire battalion or a brigade, right? So basically the point is that instead of just guarding some checkpoint for a few months and then going to another checkpoint to guard for a few months, we would do, every 3 months, we would have a major exercise that we would have to do. Basically the way that it worked is we would go guard a checkpoint, or basically, think of it as like guarding a checkpoint, occupy a space with our guns, basically is what it really came down to. And then after that, we would get rotated out and we would do a 1 or 2 month large-scale training exercise that would eventually progress up to, I think, like an entire brigade-sized exercise. Start out like basic squad exercises, charge up a hill, shoot. Okay, we start here, there's guys over there, there's guys over there, what do? Maybe do like some house-to-house training, right? And then progress up to like platoon level, right? Like 30 people-ish. And then from 30 people, it would go to the company level, like 100 people, do like a couple exercises like that, maybe a week of like all platoon level stuff. And then eventually get bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? So in the times where we weren't doing that, which to be clear was the preferable activity of choice in the military, to like go into the field, and it not like it was fun, like it's either really hot, right? You're like sweating your balls off and like drinking like canteen after canteen of water, or the opposite, which is arguably worse, where you're like freezing your nuts off and it's actually so cold you don't even sleep. You just like lie there in your sleeping bag, like freezing in this state of like half sleep, half wakingness for like 8 hours. And then all of a sudden the sun comes up and it's like time to do whatever you have to do. That was actually preferable to the guarding, okay, or occupying a checkpoint or whatever it is. And my worst experience in the military was actually in a period of time where we were expected to guard a fairly, I guess you could say, important checkpoint. I've mentioned this before a few times in some of my videos, but this base that we had to guard was built into the side of a mountain, Mount Hermon, right? Which is like, you have, let's say, Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, and they all meet at a point at this mountain, right? It's where the border is drawn. Israel currently controls the territory of the mountain and has several bases on that mountain. The one we were on is called Matzpash, right? Mitzpeshet Rimon, I think? Whatever, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, I hope I'm not like giving away like too many like deep, dark Israeli military like intelligence secrets here. I really don't think so. But anyway, in case I am, I'm gonna keep telling the story. Yeah, so like this base was, we were there for 5 months. It was easily the worst experience of my military career at all. 4.5 months, right? We got there in like, I don't know, maybe 5 months. I don't know, we got there like right when it started to snow. Like the second day we were there, it started to snow. And you get to this base, right? You go up this mountain and you walk outside and the cloud cover is below you. There's no clouds above you, the clouds are below you, right? Like, you know when you're in an airplane and you look down and you see clouds? That's what it looked like, okay? That's number one. high altitude, and it was freezing. The entire time we were there, it was freezing. We had this piece of clothing called the Hermonit, which is like, it's like think of like a jumpsuit, but designed to keep you warm. Like a jumpsuit made out of sleeping bag material, almost. You live in like your Hermonit when you go outside, right? You do not go out, nobody goes outside in like a jacket or a sweater or something. You go outside, you're wearing your Hermonit. Freezing cold, right? And if you weren't in the freezing cold, you were inside. No direct sunlight. You guys know how I love my sunlight. And there was nothing to do, right? The choice of activity was either guarding, and what does guarding really mean? It means like sitting in a room or standing in a room, because you're not allowed to sit, right? Standing in a room, staring into the distance, you're not allowed to bring your phone, right? If you're on your phone while you're guarding, it's a punishable offense, okay? There were no iPhones back then. Like, not only that, they monitor and block all of the internet traffic that goes to that base, because there's, you know, it's on the border of Syria and Lebanon. There's lots of intelligence units there as well. They're never really allowed to tell us what they do because it's so secret. Like, the joke about the Israeli intelligence units is that, like, there's a T-shirt that says, I work in intelligence in the Israeli military. My job is so secret, I don't even know what I do, right? It's like a joke shirt. But you know, presumably what they do, like, they listen to like radio communications of nearby enemy bases, right? I don't really know. That's the rumor that I've heard, like, whatever. So anyway, the point is that there's nothing to do. Like, there's no, like, you can't like go on the internet really. And back in the day, like, you couldn't really stream videos like you can now. It's like 2006. Was there even YouTube back then? Or 2007? Maybe, but not really. So what people would have would be like a little DVD player, like a little device that is only for playing DVDs. Like, think of it like a mini laptop where you put in a DVD and watch the DVD. So you'd have like 8 of us like crowding around this like 8-inch screen and watch some like retarded like movie. Israelis have the worst taste when it comes to watching funny movies. Like, they like the dumbest shit. Like, they like American Pie, right? That's like the type of movie that they like, you know? Stupid humor. Anyway, why was this base so bad? Because like, you're either guarding, right? You're either standing in this room for like 8 hours at a time, or 6 hours at a time, or 4 hours at a time, doing nothing. You can't bring a book. No, you're just like, watch for bad guys. You stand there and literally do nothing except look for bad guys. And there are none, to be clear. Like, Lebanon is not like, Hezbollah is not like coming in their attack helicopter to come shoot you anytime soon. In the middle of winter, it's just not gonna happen. And Syria, definitely not. So you just stand there, do nothing. Or you are like doing kitchen duty, which I'll get into later. Or, you know, your officers and commanders are like, you know, they know they have to keep your discipline tight, so they can't just like let you sit around and do nothing. So you're like, paint the walls, actually paint the walls. Or like, you move a bunch of equipment from one room to another room. Or you like obsessively clean like some storage area. Like, you move all of the equipment out of a storage area, clean the entire storage area, and then move everything back inside, right? You and like 6 other people. Stupid, it's boring, it's pointless, but like, you gotta do something. It's not just like, oh, there's nothing to do. Okay, you know, haven't done anything for 4 days, I guess we'll just do nothing. No, you have something to do every single day, right? There's no free time. Yeah, a little bit of free time here and there. It's like, not only are you sleep deprived, because all this guarding stuff goes on at night also, right? It's a 24-hour thing. So it's entirely possible that you start guarding at 10 p.m., let's say, you guard until 4 in the morning, and then you think like, okay, like 4 in the morning, you know, and you better hope to God that like the guy that switches you on your guard duty doesn't like oversleep and like come, like, God forbid he comes like 15 or 20 minutes late to like switch you, because you've been there for 6 hours and you're like counting down the seconds till your shift is over. And if the guy's like 1 minute late, you're like, where the fuck is this guy? You're ready to kill him. 20 minutes late, oh my God, like, you want to beat his ass by the time you're done. Anyway, so not only do you have to guard, you get no sleep, right? But an hour before dawn, every single day on this base, we had this drill that we had to do 7 days a week. This is not like an optional drill. Every single person on the base has to do this drill. You go and you stand at an entrance of the base, or an exit of the base, and you open the door. It's freezing cold outside, like below 0, okay? You open the door and you look outside and you like wait for presumably like Hezbollah to come and attack, right? Because according to military science and research, if an enemy is going to attack, they're going to attack the hour before dawn because that's when the human body is the weakest, right? That's when, like, I don't know, look it up, whatever. Anyway, it seems to be true. So an hour before dawn, when you're like, you know, bloodshot eyes, like bags under your eyes, haven't slept, been like staring at the wall, not sleeping, questioning your life choices for hours at a time, then from let's say 4 to 5 or 4:30 to 5:30, you have to go down and stare at nothingness until a voice comes over the intercom and says like, okay, everybody, you know, I forget what they called it, Ayelet HaShachar maybe, like something, rising of the dawn, I don't really know, whatever, something like that. You can go back to bed, or you're dismissed, something like that. It has to come over the intercom in order for you to actually be able to leave. So then you have to do that, right? So all of these things like combined, and we were there for 5 months, right? In the freezing cold, no sun, and for many years after this, after I got out of the army, this was like what sealed the deal for me, right? Because when you're in the military, a lot of the time you're in situations that you have no control over, and you're suffering in those situations. Whereas like right now, I'm in a cafe. If I'm hot, right? There's a fan right here. I can turn on the fan. If I'm thirsty, I can drink some of this like ice cold tea that I have right here. I don't know if you can see this. I can drink this tea. If I want a coffee, I go downstairs, I pay $1, order coffee, right? In the military, you can't do that stuff, really. You don't have that kind of freedom. So when you get out, you kind of overcompensate, or at least I did. I overcompensated for the things that gave me the most pain in the military, which, to be fair, was cold weather. I hated being cold. And in the military, like let's say you're out, you're doing a drill, you know, and it's outside, it's like, let's say it's some sort of combat drill, and it starts raining, unpredicted, like nobody predicted it would rain, you don't have your rain gear, and it's raining on you, and it's freezing cold outside. Yet you're in the middle of this drill, and you're like, tough guy commanders, tough guy officers aren't gonna cut the drill short because it's raining. So you're sitting there, you're getting rained on, you're freezing your ass off, you're literally shivering, like actually shivering, doing this retarded drill. And not only that, you don't just like walk back to the base and you're like, well, that sucked, gonna take a hot shower now. No, you gotta wait for the bus to come pick you up. You know, they gotta radio the bus. The bus has to drive like 45 minutes out to pick you up. And then it's like, that's like, you think the bus driver's like waiting there like to leave immediately? Like he's like, got his like foot on the gas pedal, like ready to like turn the ignition and like zip out there as fast as possible because you're cold? No. He's gonna take his sweet ass time coming to pick you up because it's the army and there's really, I don't want to say there's no accountability, but like it's like a bureaucracy of bureaucracies. So anyway, you get really cold a lot, or I got really cold a lot, and like after that I hated being cold. Like if it was like 65 degrees, I would take a sweater and wear it. Anyway, let's talk about kitchen duty on this base. So I hated guard duty so much. It was so terrible to me to sit and stare and do nothing for hours at a time. Like I couldn't stand it. And I hated guarding at night so much that the other option was to volunteer for kitchen duty, which was pretty much like a 15-hour a day thing, right? You wake up at 7 o'clock, you go, you prepare breakfast. After you prepare breakfast, you wash all the plates, you cut vegetables for lunch, you prepare lunch, you wash all the plates. Like we're talking like hundreds of plates and pieces of silverware and like all kinds of shit you got to do. And maybe you have like a half-hour break in between lunch or breakfast and lunch and dinner, where you can like go like collapse on your bed and catch like a quick half hour of sleep. Anyway, the point is that I always, at every opportunity, I would volunteer for kitchen duty because it didn't make sense to me to do literally nothing when I could go and do kitchen duty. And I had like my one earphone I was allowed to listen to, and I would, I was there, you're there sometimes for weeks at a time, so I'm listening literally to the same like 100 songs over and over again, like losing my mind, but at least I had that, right? At least it was like somewhat dynamic, that like, okay, I've got to cut, 100 tomatoes, 100 cucumbers, 100 onions, and like, I've got hours to do this, or whatever, an hour to do this. You can like lose yourself in the actual work and listen to music, and you're doing something, which to me was preferable than, whatever, staring into the like empty frozen wilderness of, Syria or whatever. But to be fair, you wake up at, 6:37, let's say. You go to work and you don't go to bed until 11 o'clock, right? Until everything is done. Like there's no like, okay guys, well, time to clock out. I guess I'm done. All this extra work, not my problem. No, it doesn't work like that. Like you leave when you're done, period, end of story. But the good thing about kitchen duty was that you get a full night's sleep. before. I don't remember if it was before and after or just before, but it's like if you have kitchen duty the next day, you get a full night's sleep, right? So like you don't have to guard is the point. So I knew I was gonna get a solid like 7 hours of sleep, which, you know, is a lot when you're in the military. So one of the cool things about the Army is that like you're so sleep deprived that you can literally catch a quick like 10-minute nap anywhere. Like you've got a bus ride somewhere, it's gonna take 15 minutes, you like lean like this on the side of the bus and you're asleep immediately. And I would always have crazy dreams. I don't know, maybe I like moved into REM sleep much faster. Anyway, I probably made it sound like kind of fun, this experience at Matsbash, but it was not. It was terrible, it was awful. It was the worst 5 months of my life. So I was like, well, I don't know about that. It was pretty bad. You're always cold, you're sleep deprived, there's nothing to do, you don't get any sun, you just hate your life in general. Definitely had some other really bad experiences in my military career. I'm happy to make videos about those. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. Do you want to hear more about my military exploits or lack thereof? If so, leave me a comment, tell me what you want to hear about specifically, and I will happily make a video about it. Peace.